So I'm going to ask you all to just kind of think about that thought. What's the most significant loss or pain that you've ever felt? There's this song by Elevation Worship, and the song's called Rattle. The scripture behind Rattle is Ezekiel 37. And in Ezekiel 37, God takes the prophet Ezekiel and he takes him to this valley. And he puts him in this valley, and it's a valley full of bones. And as Ezekiel walks through this valley, the two things that struck him are, number one, the sheer number of bones. There are bones everywhere. And number two, how dry the bones are. There's absolutely no life left in these bones. And so God then tells Ezekiel, basically, that you're going to speak over these bones, and the breath of life is going to come back into them. These bones are going to take on muscle, they're going to take on skin, they're going to take on all these things that make life, and then the Spirit's going to breathe life into these bones. And what happens is Ezekiel does this. He prophesies over the bones, and these dry bones come to life. We've all had valleys of dry bones, and we're here today to talk about a God that can speak life, breathe life into that. And so as we do that, I'm going to kind of run through three kind of quick, what I consider the valleys of dry bones in my life. And number one was July of 1985. I grew up in the Panhandle of Nebraska. I'm a small farm kid. As you watch me walk around, which I can't stand still, and I talk with one hand, so I apologize, but you probably see that there's some differences about me physically. I was working a summer job with my dad, July 16th, 1985. Last truck of the night came in. It was a rickety old side dump truck from one of our local farmers. My dad said, "I'll go dump it." And I said, "Man, old man, you sit down. It's 9 o'clock at night. You've had a long day." Went over. As I went to dump the truck, I had to step on top of this auger cover, big 16-inch auger that I turned on, and I reached over to grab the chain to pop the truck. The chain was stuck, so I had to step off, and when I stepped off, my left foot slipped, went in the cover of the grain auger. First cut, it took my leg just above the ankle, just below the knee, just above the knee, ended up rolling me in. I don't remember exactly what happened, or the sound, but I remember my dad, the sound of his footsteps hitting those wood steps up onto the platform, and this gasp, this like audible gasp of some sort when he saw what had happened to me. He turned the auger off, I pulled myself out, and I'm one of the few men in this room I would suspect that's actually held his femur in his hand. I held this purpley mass, which I assume was my groin, and the realization that every piece of my identity, which was primarily athletics and secondarily academics, was probably being laid bare before me. So the first lyrics of the song Rattle I want to share. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is the praise, make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm going to live again. Transitioned through 4 years of wallowing in my self-pity, a life that I didn't want. I was taking risks, doing things that I never should have done, just simply because my life had no value. And if I lost it, then fine, so be it, it wasn't worth value. And the realization of the truth of Romans 8:28, for God works all things for the good of those who love him and called according to his purpose, became real in my life. And for the first time in 4.5 years, I felt this might actually be a life that has value. And so God's been able to take that and continue moving me forward and done some amazing things. I told the guys at breakfast this morning, there's not a man on this planet, and I will argue this to my death, that's more blessed than me. Valley number two actually ties a little bit to CBMC, the 3 points you talked about. The valley of lack of real purpose. And so post-accident, started a family, got married in 1994, found the woman of my dreams. In 2002, started a company that was growing very successfully. But it wasn't the fulfillment that I wanted. I was following Jesus, but business was not providing me fulfillment. I kind of threw myself into my church, leadership in my church, every board I could sit on in the community. I was teaching Bible study fellowship, kids program. All those things were wonderful things, but the real sense of purpose and tying that to passion just wasn't there. In 2007, my wife began praying for me that I would have a heart for missions. In 2008, I got an invitation to go to China for a golf missions trip, which I didn't even know existed at the point in time. Jumped on a plane, end up in Hong Kong, ferry up to Nashua, and I meet this group of men that were there in China with purpose of teaching the Chinese teaching professionals how to be better at their job. That they wanted to identify 2 men in that group that had a sensitivity to the Spirit, that they could then go on and disciple. We have 2 men that are leading clubs in China right now with the Bible open every morning because of that trip. The miracle that God did for me is he took the piece of athletics that identified me at an early age, and as I was searching for passion, he took athletics and made it the central part of my mission. I'm involved in athletics the way this stupid little farm kid from Nebraska never could, had God not started by reaching into my life with that accident. It's been a phenomenal blessing, and it was truly another miracle in my room. Third piece, and this is probably where most of us in this room can identify a little more, it's the valley of loss. I told you I married my wife in 1994. Our 20th anniversary was spent sitting at a restaurant opening an email that said you've been diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And then September of 2019, I had the privilege and the horror at the same time of holding my wife's hand, listening to Chris Tomlin's I Will Rise at 10:23 on September 27, 2019, when she took her last breath. The pain of loss. One more quick piece from Rattle. My God is able to save and deliver and heal and restore anything He wants to. So as I finish today and let you get out to what you really came here to do, if there's any pain or suffering, loss, hopelessness, lack of purpose, there is one being that can speak truth into that. And that's the same God that spoke life into the bones in the valley that Ezekiel saw. When you get to the last part of the song, Rattle, there's this refrain, and it's, I hear the sound, I hear the sound, I hear the sound. And the bones began to rattle. And the bones begin to rattle. Dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Live, live, live. So to each one in this room, my hope and prayer is that regardless of where you are in your life right now, you will hear that beginning sound of those dry bones of pain and suffering rattle, and you'll be able to hear the voice of the Lord say, live. And if you have any questions about that process, I know Larry can point you to tons of men around this community that'll take care of that. With that, I will leave you. I say, God bless. Thank you so much for being here today. Enjoy the time out there. I hope it stays dry, and hopefully I see you again. Thank you all.